This is Garrison with Group 2. Our security analysis project, we've decided to go over Ford. Below you see all the names listed there. We have about 9 people in our group. So about Ford. Ford was founded in 1903 in Dearborn, Michigan by Henry Ford. On the left there, you see a graphic of the first Ford plant. That was where many things happened. Specifically, the assembly line was a big innovation of theirs. The early things such as the Model T that many people are familiar with in the old timey movies, one of the very first cars. Their CEO Jim Farley stated that we are here for one purpose: to help build a better world where every person is free to move and pursue their dreams. In a lot of Ford language, they like to use the word move. That's one of their key goals there, obviously, as an automotive company. And then brands, Ford vehicles, Lincoln vehicles. So both Ford and Lincoln are under the umbrella. Services and parts is its own brand underneath the Ford group. And then Ford commercial, which is the commercial vehicles, trucks, fleet, stuff like that. Ford AV and mobility. And then Ford performance racing. So if you're a fan of NASCAR, I specifically remember, the older NASCAR cars. Ford had a couple there. The theme for our project is that Ford is a short-term struggle with long-term value. Obviously, many financial experts are forecasting a recession in 2023. That's no shock. So we don't think that Ford's immune to that. We think they're going to go through some struggles, but we think that long-term, specifically on our next point here, capitalizing on manufacturer shift to EV, we think with a lot of policy changes and stuff like that, Ford will be able to capitalize on that shift and really focus on gaining market share in the electric vehicle realm. Similarly, with like something like Tesla right now, they kind of have a large share of that. And while Ford has a good U.S. market, we want to focus on the electric vehicle market. And we think that's an area for them to grow. I included a headline from the New York Times. California to ban the sale of new gasoline cars. This is a good example of the policy changes we think that will impact Ford and their business plan as they make the shift to EVs. We've seen the electric Mustang, stuff like that. Ford is taking their old classics and sort of innovating them and making them electric and making them eco-friendly. And we think that could be successful in the long term. Recent stock analysis. This is just a simple chart from Yahoo Finance over the last year of the stock's performance. I've highlighted some peaks there. The price as of yesterday compiling this, the stock price was 1206 per share. So this is the stock ticker is just set F. That's the stock ticker if you want to search this up. Some peaks and valleys there, nothing too crazy, just some different exterior motivators that have caused those peaks and valleys there. One of our group members ran a SWOT analysis. So we have for strengths, global recognition, research and development. That's a key one for us that we're going to talk about in this presentation. Diverse offerings, adaptability, and then huge network. Weaknesses could be product recalls, weak foothold, poor reputation, and then dependence on the U.S. markets. We'll get into that one in a little bit. And then opportunities, eco-friendly vehicles. We touched on that some. We're going to hit on that some more. Increased customer base, digital marketing, and then self-driving cars. That's a big one, especially if you're keeping up with the news of other car companies. Threats, high competition. It's the automotive industry. There's tons of competition. It's a very competitive industry. Increased prices of materials, and then regulations and compliance. So we'll get into all of these specifically here in a second. So for strengths, global recognition, well-known brand with global markets and multiple brands. So as I mentioned earlier, Ford and Lincoln are both under the umbrella, and they both have good brand recognition, specifically in the United States. I'm located here in Texas, so I feel like I can't go anywhere without seeing a Ford or a Lincoln on the road, whether it be personal vehicles, commercial vehicles, whatever. Research and development. We think this is going to play a pivotal role in the company's EV push. Going through their company documents, going through their mission statements, stuff like that, you see a lot of push on the innovation towards electric vehicles, and we feel like the R&D plays a huge part in this. Diverse offering. I hit on this a second ago. Wide range of both personal and commercial vehicles. Extremely popular work trucks, specifically where I'm at, along with personal vehicles like the Bronco. They brought back the Bronco, and from what I've seen, that is very popular. I personally know several people with a Bronco. It's sort of it's a good example of Ford doing almost a renovation of one of their classics, and then innovating it and making it into a new offering. Adaptability, operations remain open to adaptation to encourage innovation. Ford started the assembly line, and with that, they have not just become stuck in their ways. They're very able to pivot and innovate if they find something that works for them. And then global network of 10,717 dealers. That is a huge number of global networks of their dealers, and that is a true global meaning. They're all over. A large portion are in the U.S., but that is a truly global sense. Weaknesses, product recalls, massive recalls in the mid-2010s hurt their image, specifically the 830,000 recalls due to side door latch issues. Weak foothold, lacking in strong international or emerging markets such as India. China's another one, but specifically India was an emerging market that had been labeled that Ford does not have a good presence in yet. We see that as an area for them to grow, though. Poor reputation, compare better to U.S. competitors than their international competition. One specific example is the German luxury cars versus the Lincoln. Lincolns are more of a high-end offering compared to your average Ford model, and they do not compare well with the German luxury cars. So that is a potential issue. The dependence on the U.S. markets, too heavily reliant on the U.S. market while lacking in emerging markets, like I mentioned, China and India. U.S. market sales showed signs of slowing in 2020. That's obviously due to the global COVID-19 pandemic. I'd like to think there's not going to be another global pandemic, but you never know. And Ford was not immune to that. They struggled just like everyone else, but that was a slowdown for them, was the 2020 global pandemic. Opportunities, we have eco-friendly EVs. We expect a massive focus. I've talked about that many times through this. Ford has excellent opportunity to make EVs more commonplace with their assembly line process, stuff like that. On the left there is one of their electric vehicles. It's the electric Mustang. I think it's a good looking car. Expanding customer base, as I mentioned, growing into those emerging markets and capturing more of a market share in India and China, and really focusing on those growing customer bases and really gaining a foothold there. Digital marketing, can capitalize on digital marketing to more efficiently grow their presence. Everyone is focusing on digital marketing in the age of social media and instant information, and we think Ford is primed to do that as well. Self-driving car, Ford made a massive investment in Argo AI, up to $1 billion, and positioning Ford to be a competitor in the self-driving car realm. We really think that this could be their way of kind of hanging with Tesla and sort of keeping in that same trend of the self-driving car. I personally have never seen a self-driving car and been in one in person, but I have seen them in news and stuff like that. So that would be an interesting innovation there. Threats, I've mentioned this several times, Tesla and GM, along with other blue blood companies like Toyota. The car industry is very competitive, naturally. Increased price of materials. We're seeing some residual from the COVID-19 pandemic. They're still having problems sourcing materials, and so that causes the prices of materials to go up, and that is affecting Ford, as is everyone else in the car industry. But naturally, that's an issue we've got to tackle there. Regulations, environmental regulations pose Ford challenges as Ford looks to expand operations but also maintain compliance. Ford wants to stay in compliance, but we're having issues keeping with regulations and making sure those are up to date as well. One of our members ran a preliminary financial analysis over the last 5 years, and then she included the DuPont ROE there, as you can see. I've kind of touched on this before. You see strong numbers in 2018. 2019 was a slight decline, and then 2020 hits. You see the COVID number right there, with the ROIC being negative 8.9%. And then you see a instant feedback with 16.2% in 2021. A lot of that has to do with the stimulus efforts that Ford did benefit from that, along with the consumers as well. And then 2022, we saw a more standard 8.8% to kind of match the 2018 numbers. That's a good sign. I feel like less stimulus, obviously coming off the COVID-19 pandemic. And then this is a calculation of free cash flow. This is more of a projections that we see. We're projecting right now 23 to be a down year, obviously the recession. Then we see rebounding going through the future. And then through 2027, we see massive increases as we account for the international foothold, along with the policy changes that we'll hopefully see in the U.S., pushing the consumers more towards EVs. And so that's more so just the projection side of it. We expect Ford to be a long-term value, especially at the price that it's currently at. So I want to thank you guys for your time, and thank you for allowing me to present today.